Friends, let us learn IOL exchange. You can see this is an opaque intraocular lens. The plan is to remove this intraocular lens and replace it with a sulcus-compatible multipiece intraocular lens. This is the main wound to remove the intraocular lens. First, this is 2.8 millimeter entry. And now I fill up the anterior chamber with 2% hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose. Then I take the keratome again and enlarge the main wound to about 3.5 to 4 millimeter. Yes, 4 millimeter wound is very much friendly for removal of the intraocular lens. Some visco is applied behind the intraocular lens, and now with the help of a SICS hook, one haptic is brought out. I find that the haptic is free because the lens has been placed in the sulcus. The surgery has been done elsewhere, and this is a hydrophilic acrylic intraocular lens that has become opaque. And now some visco is applied both above and below. The lens is held with a 23G forceps. The lens is stabilized, and this is an IOL cutter from Epsilon, India. And now the haptic is placed in front of the main wound, and then I take a Macpherson's forceps and start pulling the intraocular lens. And I find that the lens is coming almost in contact with the corneal endothelium. So I inject some visco and place the visco cannula there so that whenever I think necessary I can inject the visco. And now I pull the intraocular lens and rotate the intraocular lens so that the intraocular lens can come out through this small wound. I had to exert 3-4 pulls to remove the intraocular lens. And then this is visco again to fill up the SE. I find that the posterior capsule is intact and the sulcus is free. So I inject the multipiece intraocular lens from Johnson & Johnson. This is Sensor 3-piece intraocular lens, and this lens is very compatible to the sulcus. Inject some visco. The leading haptic has gone into the sulcus, and now the trailing haptic. With the help of this Macpherson's forceps, the trailing haptic is placed in the sulcus, and the lens is dialed to place the haptics at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock meridian. And now the visco is removed nicely. Before that, this is a peripheral iridectomy with a vitrectomy cutter. This may not be necessary, but there is no harm in doing a peripheral iridectomy. This will help in aqueous flow from posterior chamber to anterior chamber. And now the visco is nicely cleaned out. This is bimanual irrigation aspiration cannulae, and the visco molecules are removed thoroughly with the help of these two cannulae. And now an air bubble has been injected to maintain the anterior chamber, and then the side ports are closed, hydrating corneal stroma on either side of this paracentesis wound. And now this is the final lavage of the anterior chamber. This is a minimally edited video. After a thorough lavage of the anterior chamber, the anterior chamber is formed nicely with BSS. Integrity of the wounds are checked and the case is concluded. Thank you very much for your attention. Hope this video will help you in guiding you to explant opaque intraocular lenses and replace it with sulcus-compatible multiple piece intraocular lenses.